What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the November 20th, 2021 edition of Talking Smack. Now, I know we're well after the fact of Survivor Series on Sunday. Usually I break down SmackDown every week on Saturdays here on the channel, if not Sundays. It's Mondays. The pay-per-view was yesterday. I was at the pay-per-view. I was at a press junket on Saturday. I was at SmackDown on Hartford on Friday. It wasn't an overly newsworthy show anyway, SmackDown that is, so I figured if there was any weekend to miss doing the SmackDown review, it would be this one. Talking Smack, we are after the pay-per-view, as I mentioned, but I don't think I've missed the Talking Smack review yet since I brought back these reviews of doing Talking Smack about a year ago, so I figured, fuck it, let's just talk about it anyway. So I did watch it. It was a decent show, obviously centered around Survivor Series on Sunday, but let's get right into it. Actually, Jackie Redmond had mentioned, obviously she hosts the show alongside Matt Camp. She had mentioned, I believe, unless I misheard her, that Survivor Series would be her first show in person since WrestleMania 17, 20 years ago. Now, Redmond was just hired by WWE a couple of months ago, but to my knowledge, she had been covering WWE on, what was that show? The Score, I think, that Canadian show, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe with AfterBuzz, maybe, or one of those shows. Something like that. So she's obviously been a wrestling fan. She's watched shows. She knows about the product. But I don't know. That was very surprising for me to hear that this is her first WWE show in over 2 decades. That's quite crazy. But anyway, her and Matt Camp in the studio run down the biggest headlines from Friday's SmackDown before recapping Sasha Banks versus Shotzi that saw Sasha pick up the victory. And we hear from Sasha backstage at SmackDown with Megan Morant. And Sasha tells Megan that, hey, listen, I played by the rules. I did exactly what Sonya told me to do. I played by the rules, and I laid out Shotzi afterward, even though she gave me a good fight. But, for her disrespecting me a few weeks ago, she got what she had coming to her. And she, talks about, she kind of revisits what she said on SmackDown this week, and that there's no bigger bitch than her in WWE. Now, she doesn't say bitch here on the show. She says there's no bigger B than me in WWE, and she says that multiple times. But she does promise to lead her team to victory at Survivor Series, which she could not, as we found out on Sunday, due to the unable to coexist theme in that match and all the other matches on the show, which is just the stupidity of brand warfare and all that other bullshit. But she looks forward to tying it up again with Bianca Belair, rekindling that rivalry. That was definitely the highlight of the match on Sunday, was the interaction between Sasha and Bianca. She looked forward to tying it up with Rhea Ripley, I think for the first time. Not the first time, I think Rhea actually pinned Sasha to win the women's elimination match for NXT 2 years ago. But they talk about that. And going back to the studio, Matt Camp says that SmackDown has the slight edge over Raw. And I'm not exactly sure why. I thought he said it was because, Raw can't coexist. But then I'm thinking, SmackDown between Sasha and Shotzi have all these issues right now. So I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about. But he does say that adding Toni Storm was a great call for Team SmackDown. She was added to the Blue Brand squad on Thursday night on Twitter, because they can't bother to do it on TV, I guess. But he does call Rhea Ripley an X factor in the match, someone that people have been sleeping on lately, one half of the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, but she's a force to be reckoned with. She's been at Survivor Series before. Unfortunately, she did lose this year, but she did have a good showing, I thought. They then replay the Roman Reigns, the King Woods segments from SmackDown on Friday, including the opening segment, the ending segment that brought out Big E, and saw that confrontation between Big E and Roman to hype up the main event for Survivor Series on Sunday. They preview said match before teasing interference from the Usos. Now, the Usos, one, if not both of them, have interfered in many Roman Reigns matches on pay-per-view, whether it be WrestleMania, Survivor Series last year, helping Roman beat Drew McIntyre in that great match. It's happened quite a bit. But Matt Camp says that if Big E does win, which he didn't, there will be a massive power shift in WWE between going from Roman to Big E, which again didn't happen. They also recap Shinsuke Nakamura versus Angel, don't call him Garza, the 1-on-1 match from Friday. Nakamura won, but clearly the issues between the two teams are not over based on Angel and Humberto attacking Nakamura and Boogs afterward. We hear from Boogs and Nakamura backstage at SmackDown, with Boogs saying that Los Lotharios are greasy, and that was why they were able to score or, steal the victory the previous week on SmackDown in tag team action. And both he and Nakamura look forward to Survivor Series, where Nakamura faces Damian Priest, which ended up being on the pre-show, which ended up seeing Nakamura win by disqualification. And then the Matt Camp and Jackie Redmond preview said match for Survivor Series. And then coming back from commercial, they replay the entire vignette that aired on SmackDown for Xia Li. Now that's important to note because they replayed the entire vignette again on Survivor Series as well. So clearly they want you to know about this repackaging of Xia Li, which honestly I'm all for. I thought it was a cool vignette. I thought it was well done, well produced. And we'll see where they go. That's the fact they replayed it. They did it on SmackDown, replayed it on Talking Smack in full, showed it again at Survivor Series. Goes to show you that hopefully, and no one on this roster is safe from being fired, but hopefully they have high hopes for Xia Li on SmackDown on her own. And I think she's pretty good. She's not amazing yet, but she has shown improvement over the years, and there's a new gimmick might have potential. So we'll see where it goes. They then recapped the Fatal 4-Way at the start of SmackDown that saw Sheamus knock off Cesaro, Jinder Mahal, and Ricochet in a 4-way match to qualify for Team SmackDown for the men at Survivor Series. We hear from Sheamus and Ridge Holland backstage at SmackDown with Megan Moran, and Sheamus says that Holland went down to the ring just to have a look and watch his own greatness, and he ended up, obviously aiding Sheamus to victory by distracting Cesaro and allowing Sheamus to pick up the victory. Ridge Holland says that both he and Sheamus, that, Sheamus is obviously his childhood hero and all this other shit, that he and Sheamus are two like-minded fellows. And Sheamus said that he shouldn't even have to qualify, should have automatically been added to the team, but nonetheless, Holland is his new best mate, and nothing is impossible from this point forward. And then to close out the episode, Matt Camp says that Team SmackDown for the men has less issues than Team Raw, and they're probably going to win, which they didn't. Team Raw pretty much dominated the night, except for the main event of Big E versus Roman. And I think Matt Camp saw that coming because they run down the entire card for the pay-per-view, and of all the predictions he made, that was the only one he got wrong. He picked Team Raw for the women. Actually, he picked the Usos as well for SmackDown, and them against RK Bro, and that was wrong as well. I picked the Usos too. But, so he picked Team SmackDown for the women, he picked Team Raw for the men, Team SmackDown for the men, Team Raw for the women, the Usos, Damian Priest over Nakamura, Becky Lynch over Charlotte, and Roman over Big E. So he was wrong on Team SmackDown winning for the men, and Team Usos, the Usos winning for, SmackDown over the RK Bro. Team Raw pretty much dominated the show, and Roman was the only one. I guess Nakamura technically won by DQ, which was another prediction he got wrong, as did I. But that was on the pre-show, so again, it hardly matters. And they don't even preview the 25-man Battle Royal that they announced on SmackDown on Friday. They didn't even mention that. But anyway, that was Talking Smack in a nutshell for November 20th, 2021. Thank you guys for checking this review well after the fact. Usually they go up on Sundays. I would have had to go up before the pay-per-view this week. But again, I was at SmackDown on Friday in Hartford. I was at a press junket in Brooklyn for Survivor Series, talking to a lot of great talent on Saturday. And on Sunday, it was not Survivor Series itself, so I just didn't have the time. But usually these reviews go up on Sundays. We've had a lot of videos go up lately between interviews and live reactions, Q&As, podcast excerpts, reviews, and stuff like that. So if you're not already subscribed here to the channel, please do so. I would greatly appreciate it. Have a great week, guys. Enjoy Thanksgiving on Thursday if you're here in the States. If not, just have a great week. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.